What's going on, Player Profiler Nation? Welcome back to the latest episode of Trade Gods. I am your host, Matty Kiwoom, and I am joined by my fellow Trade God brother and the morning man himself, Mr. Jason Allwine. What's going on, Jay?
Dude, nothing too much. Having a good day. I got to pick Ryan Flournoy in the Wake and Take Invitational Startup, so that was exciting. And, you know, everything else that's going on in a fantastic day. Now I'm here for Trade Gods. It really doesn't get much better than this, Matty Kiwoom.
I must say, my friend, seeing you take Flournoy was a bit of a relief for me, selfishly, nervously, because I had him queued up. He was going to my next pick.
I knew it was going to be soon. That's the thing, guys.
He was not going. He was not making it past my next pick.
That's what. So, guys, as I'm a lot of you are listeners to the audience, but some of you might be content creators. And one thing you'll come to learn if you ever do a listener league, like we found out in the Trade Gods League, you know, what you say on these shows very frequently comes back to bite you. And so I kind of had to jump at the chance I traded up to get Ryan Flournoy because I knew the Wake and Take people that listen. I knew they were after him soon. And yeah, now you're down person number 3 to say that was going to be their next pick. So I'm glad I did it. Still trying to trade up. There's one more fella that I want that we might actually be talking about in today's show. So how about a segue? How about
fantastic segue? And you know what? I was going to add something to that, but you know, I'll talk to you about it off camera. Let's just get into the show. Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is a fun one. So over the next, what is it? How many weeks? 8 weeks? Over the next 8 weeks. So, I mean, we are in the grind here. We are in the dog days of summer. Mm-hmm. We're going to go division by division, team by team, and we're going to give you a buy from each team at the given point that we talk about this team. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going
NFC North.
To the NFC North. We're talking about them Bears. We're talking about them Lions. We're talking about them Packers. And we're talking about them Vikings. A buy from each team. And then, of course, we're going to end the show with a TGIF. It's a small one. It's not going to be a long segment. It's a little small trade, but I think it's very relevant to some of the noise that we're hearing throughout some of the OTAs in Tejas. So why don't we just start in the NFC North? Let's start, Jason, with the Chicago Bears.
Perfect.
Of course, most people are thinking right now to themselves, well, obviously Kiwoom's going to say bye DJ Moore. You already know that. It's always DJ Moore season here. But I ain't talking DJ Moore here. I got another guy that I'd like to talk about. Before that, Jason, who is the player that you're looking to buy right now in Dynasty from the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, and I'm sorry to say this, Matty Kiwoom, but I think we're on different sides of the coin when we're looking at the Chicago Bears offense, and especially the receiving room. If I had DJ Moore, if I had Keenan Allen, I would be doing whatever I could, adding whatever I could. New rookie stud. I'm already calling him a stud, Rome Odunze. This is a prospect that you couldn't ask literally anything more for. He's just coming off a 1,500-yard season with 13 touchdowns, got to play in the national championship. He was the standout at the combine. Everyone remembers him staying after to nail that 3-cone drill. He gets the player profiler best comparable of Justin Jefferson. He has prototypical size at 6'3", 212. And he gets top 10 draft capital going to the Bears, who are now projecting to be an electric offense with a rookie quarterback, Caleb Williams. Both of them are going to be able to blossom together. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen. I think that Rome Odunze will be the alpha on the Chicago Bears offense. I think that the Bears very clearly want Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams to establish a connection. And I think they're going to try to force feed that, whether it be starting here in training camps or just throughout the season. Keenan Allen, he's older. DJ Moore's contract will be up, I believe, within the next couple seasons. Rome Odunze is the future of the Chicago Bears passing attack along with Caleb Williams. And I want to get in right now because he's only the wide receiver 15. And generally I am. I've talked about it on Trade Gods a lot. I don't like having a lot of these high-end wide receivers unless they're named Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, maybe Amon-Ra, because you can tier down. You know, it's a very, very deep position. Someone in the Trade Gods League, BTTJ, I was trading with him once. He called it the wide receiver super tier. And I think that's a really great way to put it. A lot of receivers in this range are not that much better than like wide receiver 32, at least in terms of a points per game basis. But Rome Odunze, like I said, I think is going to establish himself as the focal point of this passing attack throughout his career. And right now, I would like to take some of these receivers in his range and try to get him, because I think this is the bottom. Generally, I think rookies start out a little overpriced, but I think his situation with being technically behind Keenan Allen and DJ Moore has lowered our expectations a little bit. But if I had Brandon Ayuk, if I had Chris Olave, if I had Malik Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, A.J. Brown, and Tyreek Hill, I am using all of those wide receivers to either add to get Rome Odunze or just try to get a Rome Odunze and a cherry on top. I do personally have Odunze over Neighbors in my own rookie rankings. I am all over this player. We've already been seeing the bear claw photos of him and Caleb doing the bear claw together. I'm sure soon enough we'll hear about them going to brunch together, like Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And then we'll start hearing double dates and everything. And they're just going to become best friends. And that's going to lead to targets. And Rome Odunze, I think you need to buy him before that all happens.
So you got me effed up here, Jay, because you've put me in a really bad situation to talk poorly about a player that I love, Rome Odunze. I think your sentiment of the prospect is 100% spot on. I think he is going to be on everyone's buy list by week 6, week 7, week 8. I think that the market will be down on Rome Odunze because, over the next 5 years, the rapport will be, ironclad. Over the next 3, it'll probably be really good. Hell, even as early as next year, I think we could see an emergence from Rome Odunze. But the NFL does not work that way, where all of a sudden you're going to push aside a perennial 1,000-yard receiver, a guy coming off 13 receiving yards, being one of the most prolific wide receivers in all of football, no matter how good the rookie is. And you see it time and time again. You saw it with Devontae Smith coming off 1,800 receiving yards in college. He only had 800 as a rookie. We saw it with Zay Flowers last year. We saw it with Josh Downs last year. We've seen it with Drake London in their career. We've seen it with Jordan Addison, JSN. Time and time again, these talented rookies take time to develop. That's why just a few years ago, everyone knew the 30-year breakout. It was ironclad. That was the thing. Mm-hmm. It kind of dialed that back because kids do project and they do develop more given the style of college football now. As much as I love Rome Odunze, I think this year we're seeing a ceiling of 800 receiving yards, a ceiling of wide receiver 30 on a points per game basis with flash plays. There's just too much to go around. Cole Kmet's there. They're going to want to run with DeAndre Swift. Mm-hmm. It's just there's not enough for him to be that peaceful. What I will say to your point though, if you can get in on Rome Odunze now, whether it be rookie draft or trade, I'm still looking to do so and take the lumps. I think over the course of the next 18 months, we are more than happy with our Rome Odunze shares. Early on, I think we are facing a real struggle for hype in round 1 or in year 1. So when you talk about some games to tear down, you're going to be looking at a rebuild. You're not looking to compete in 24 with that move. Do I hate the move? Can't say I hate it. I don't. I want Rome Odunze on the squad. But I do think that we need to temper our expectations with what type of breakout season. Because, hell, look at Chris Olave, look at Jalen Waddle, look at Garrett Wilson. They really didn't have anyone on those rosters of note when they were rookies, and they just eclipsed 1,000 yards. Were fringe wide receiver 1s, wide receiver 2s. Good players, really good players. So, Rome Odunze, I like him. But, I think it's going to take time. So, what are your thoughts on the early speed bump?
I mean, it is fair because you bring up Jackson Smith and Jigba, and they did bring over the Seattle Seahawks former offensive coordinator from last season, Shane Waldron, to be the new Bears offensive coordinator.
Good point.
So this is a very similar situation. Although I could see kind of Keenan Allen maybe being the more JSN role on the Bears offense more.
That's certainly possible. And Rome is sick. Right. If you can laugh at me later, Jason, be like, remember that call you had in June? I could be totally wrong. He is that good. I'm not saying ain't there. It's just DJ Moore is sick. Keenan Allen is sick. Cole Kmet just got extended. They're all good. They're all really good.
I guess here's say Rome Odunze has 600 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Yes.
How much does he drop? Wide receiver.
You're getting him for Zay. You're able to jump in like Zay Flowers. You're able to jump in like year 2 Drake London. It's not cheap. It's cheaper, but it's not cheap.
That's what. So I don't know if I want to risk it though. That's what I think.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And I agree with it. Like I said early too. I think the player's good enough. So like the cost is the cost to get that guy. You're talking about the number 3 pick in one QB rookie drafts. Like we're not. This is not the light waters here. It's just the thought to overspend now. I'm okay doing it to get the guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's you got to now be cautious of or be prepared to have a kind of dud early on from that player you just spent a lot on. So that's why I'm just tempering expectations. But my buy from the Bears, I'm going to be a chicken. Okay, you were brave there, Jay. You were brave.
I was.
That was a brave take, a good take. We were able to flush it out. A great take. I'm going to take the chicken way out. And I don't give a rip. I'm buying Caleb Williams. I'm buying Williams top of the because we just talk about 4 or 5 guys in this offense that are sick, that are good, that are going to produce.
We didn't even bring up Swift.
Yeah. There's one commonality throughout all that. The quarterback, who's already been named starter, Caleb Williams, and you're hearing these struggles in OTAs, and I want to hear more of them. What I want is I can't see the football level cockamamie report that we got from Jamar Chase a few years ago. I can't catch the ball, my hands are too small type of report. I need one of those type of reports out of Bears camp so that the buying window for Caleb Williams becomes a freaking helicopter pad and I can land the bird and buy me more Caleb Williams because we got him now at quarterback 8 in our dynasty ranks at PlayerProfiler.com, and those numbers are going to continue to go up. I think Caleb Williams is on the precipice of a really strong rookie year. He's got sneaky athleticism, weapons galore, and I'm willing to pay the king's ransom to get the quarterback now. Much like you said for Rome Odunze, but I just can side skirt who's going to get the ball by getting this rookie. You know what I mean?
I get it. Kind of similar to how you might be buying Rome Odunze just because you don't want to miss out on that prospect. I think I'm waiting on Caleb Williams. I think I'm selling him right now if I have him. But if one of those reports come in, I don't mind swooping in. I just don't see him going much higher. He's actually the same age as CJ Stroud. And I just don't know what he would have to do to cross Anthony Richardson, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. And with Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron being there, I just don't know if the ceiling really happens, at least in year one, even with those weapons. So I think I might be taking the opposite approach of maybe trying to sell him if I can get that king's ransom, maybe moving off the 101. I guess ultimately it comes down to my price with Caleb, but I don't think I'm confident enough buying right now.
Would you rather Caleb Williams or Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
See, I'm almost at the precipice of going Caleb Williams.
I did have to pause. That was a pause there. The audience heard that.
I think I'm getting closer to just wanting Caleb Williams because I think it was Seth Dewald that went into detail about that. Or didn't you have him as a sell recently?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I could trade.
Yes,
Josh Allen for
you had the Cam Newton take.
Yeah.
Yes, you're the reason why I'm taking Caleb Williams over Josh
You don't want Josh Allen anymore. You're done.
So I mean, if you're trying to the king's ransom you're talking about to get for Caleb Williams has to be an extensive package of running backs, receivers, quarterbacks, a whole roster retool because at this point he's going to be pushing that top tier. Man, it's just that offense is starting to get me really excited. It's the weapons, it's the poise, it's the prospects. But either way, I think we're very excited about the Chicago Bears this year. And truthfully, we wanted to start off with the NFC North because we're pretty damn excited about the competition in this division. And there are buy candidates up and down this thing. So if you're going to want to hear the buys from the Vikings, Lions, and Packers, you're going to stick around for more trade gods.
This episode is brought to you by Player Profiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help strategize where you should take players because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. the best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our rookie guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. So it's a great deal.
Jason Allwine, Matty, Kiwoom, the trade gods, talking NFC North buys here in June for Dynasty Fantasy Football. Let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings. When I saw the show notes, you sent it to me. You said, this is some sexy notes. And boy, you were not lying. There are some sexy-ass notes, because I am actually very intrigued to hear about why you're buying this Minnesota Viking. There's a slew of good players, a lot of buys. I'm very excited to hear why Jason Allwine is buying T.J. Hockenson in Dynasty.
Yeah, so we just had a great commercial, Podfather Commercial King, talking about how great a deal the Dynasty Deluxe package is. Well, a better deal is TJ Hockenson in Dynasty right now. We are not that far removed. You can go to Keep Trade Cut right now, scroll through his positional rank lifetime value chart, and see back in November, he was the tight end 1 in Dynasty, and pretty much all season didn't go much lower than tight end 2. But we as a Dynasty community have become way out over our skis and way overvalued his injury, or I guess put too much stock into his injury and the production that we saw from some of these younger tight ends. First off, Trey McBride, great season last year. Didn't do it with Marvin Harrison Jr. Dalton Kincaid, decent season last year, but didn't really show much of a ceiling when Dawson Knox was actually active. And then we hear reports this week that he was asked, hey, Dalton Kincaid, how do you feel about potentially being the featured guy of this offense? And he literally replies, I wouldn't say I'm the guy. Like, what? Like, I don't want to hear that at all from a player. And then Brock Bowers, a rookie in a very crowded Raiders offense with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and Michael Mayer, who was just in this position of being one of our favorite rookie tight ends last season. So those 3 tight ends in particular, I don't think should be valued higher than TJ Hockenson. But even Mandrews, I love Mandrews. But I mean, he's a little bit older and has the injury history himself. And last year, TJ Hockenson, and really the year before, that has just been so incredible in Minnesota. Before getting injured last year, he was the tight end 1 in PPR and standard, and still finished the year despite getting injured as the tight end 4 in PPR, and finished as the second tight end in points per game, averaging 14.6 points per game. Finished the year in only 15 games with 960 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. And he's still only 27 years old, and the tight end 7 behind the guys I mentioned, and still within reaching distance of like Evan Ingram and David Njoku. I just can't believe it. I just really can't. I mean, this is a prospect that we had already been waiting on years to break out, finally broke out in Minnesota. I mean, we're talking multiple 10-plus target games. And we have a rookie quarterback or Sam Darnold coming in who's probably going to love a target like TJ Hockenson when Justin Jefferson is covered. I do think that this tight end, as we've seen in Minnesota before, has been a focal point of this offense, consistently drawn up routes to get open, whether it be in the red zone, intermediate routes, or even short routes. The dude is just so incredible. So incredible. I want TJ Hockenson while I can still buy him, because I mean, when he comes back, gets that 14 reception, 100-yard, 2 touchdown game again, it's going to be unattainable. It's just going to be unattainable. So I want him way too much right now, even.
We had a nice back and forth and breakdown of the wide receiver core and the pass catchers for Chicago, but I'm going to give zero pushback here. I love the Hockenson buy. But the question I will ask you, the follow-up, I would love to know, given his injury, given probably the process in which it's going to take for him to get back on the field, give our listeners a tight end that you're stashing or let's call it bridging the gap from week 1 to whenever Hockenson returns. Give us a couple tight ends that they could roster that can kind of get you from point A to healthy point B.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll start scraping the bottom of the barrel here. The cheapest options that I'm actually comfortable taking some shots on, and guys, this is nasty, but there are some cheap-ass tight ends right now. Actually, all of these are going to be totally fine for you. Going as low as Tyler Conklin, Jonnu Smith.
There it is.
Yeah, I mean, like Tyler Conklin, Jonnu Smith, Colby Parkinson, Jelani Woods, of course, Mike Gesicki, Jawan Johnson, Hunter Henry. Just go get some of those cheap guys. They'll get you the 5 to 8 points. and maybe more in the Jelani Woods case, and you'll be kind of happy, right? Or just get one of the no, probably don't want to get one of the rookies, to be honest, just because.
The rookies, it's tough. You might get nothing out of the week. I love the Conklin call. I think that's the guy. I would love the Conklin. And if your rosters are deep enough to shoulder this type of play, get Jelani on there too. Get a little upside on the bench. You can see how that marinates early on. I think Tyler Conklin is as good as any tight end candidate to score a touchdown week 1, week 2, given the offense and the pecking order in New York. I love those calls. And get in the back end have a little TJ Hawkinson. My Minnesota Viking is cheap. Very, very cheap. We're talking about outside the top 50 at his position cheap. I'm buying Ty Chandler. You look at this running back room, you got Aaron Jones, who's going to be the guy, but he's coming off an injury-plagued 2023. He's getting older. He's above the age apex. He didn't really get a big contract. After that, it's Ty Chandler, and then there's, Keenan Nguanu. There's Myles Gaskin, who I have heard some good buzz out of camp from OTAs about Myles Gaskin, but come on. I mean, I'm not about to put a whole bunch of eggs in the Myles Gaskin hype basket. But then there's Ty Chandler. Ty Chandler is also the guy that filled in last year and had multiple strong games for the Minnesota Vikings, highlighted by his Week 15 bonanza where he had 150 total yards, scored a touchdown, was running back 4. He's knocking on the door for the strong side of a platoon, potential 80, 60, 70, somewhere in that range snap share, the really strong snap share. He's fast, and he was top 20 last year despite a limited sample size in yards created per touch, production premium, and things like game script, because we know the offense is advantageous for offensive players with Kevin O'Connell at the helm. The price is cheap. I mean, you could give a 4th rounder plus Treylon Burks, a 3rd rounder plus Rashad Bateman, Jonathan Mingo plus a 4th. This is the low prices we're talking about to get a running back that have massive value. During his emergence last year in the playoff run for fantasy, I was able to sell him for a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah.
So if you buy for Rashad Bateman and at worst you sell him for a 2nd, or you use him as your running back 2, much like Devin Singletary was used for much of the season last year, give me Ty Chandler. You could buy super cheap, throw him on the back end of your bench, and just let it marinate. He's just one of those running backs that we might be looking at by Thanksgiving saying, why the hell didn't I listen to those trade gods and get these cheap running backs this time of year, these low opportunity costs, low risk, high reward type of running backs. So, Jason, any thoughts on Ty Chandler? And let's just call it the Vikings running back crew as a whole, because it's kind of late. You think they bring anyone in even? No,
they didn't. I mean, unless what's his face, who was Dwayne McBride, decides to get himself off the practice squad. What do we have? The Veterans Buy episode a little over a month ago. And I talked about buying Aaron Jones, but I also think, I think if you buy Aaron Jones, you should 100% go buy Ty Chandler, but I don't mind buying Ty Chandler if you don't have Aaron Jones. I do think that they traded for Aaron Jones to feature the hell out of him and run him into the ground. But as you mentioned, he does have the health concerns. I think there will definitely be a few windows where Ty Chandler gets on the field. And even then, he has been pretty explosive. I mean, he'll see the field a little bit. I think it's an easy buy right now. That's a handcuff plus right there on an offense with young quarterbacks that are kind of in Sam Darnold's experience, but not good. So they'll probably rely on the run game a little bit. I like both of those buys. I do. Good running back to target the whole backfield.
Minnesota's, in my opinion, I just want to get your quick opinion on this. I feel like Minnesota's a good franchise to buy in Dynasty because they have a ton of really good weapons, but everything's being weighed down by the uncertainty of the quarterback situation. Right. But I mean, if JJ McCarthy just is decent, those weapons are so good. I think that they can produce and bring back you're get a nice little return for what you've given up. So I think Minnesota's a great little franchise right now to be buying, or a great little franchise. Who the hell am I? Is a good team to buy players from. Let's just call it what it is. Yeah, let's move over to Green Bay, talk about the Green Bay Packers. Jason, what player are you buying from the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah, I actually appreciate these next two teams that we're talking about. You are going to be talking about buying a couple wide receivers that I've probably soapboxed way too many times for on this show. So it's exciting to finally have you on the side.
I wrote those down. I can say this, Jason, and all our listeners, you'll be privy to this in 1 second or in a few minutes after Jason goes. But I wrote these two names down with such a shit-eating grin on my face. So happy that we could celebrate because I knew it would be a celebration.
It's awesome. It's awesome. But before we get into that, I'm buying the damn quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. What are we doing, guys? Literally, what are we doing? We started, I think, our first episode this season for season 3 of Trade Gods. We talked about buying Jordan Love, but it was definitely at least one of the earlier ones. We have both been very much asking for this. And when we were saying that, you know, he was like quarterback 14-ish, quarterback 13-ish, and he has jumped up now to quarterback 10, but I still just don't think we're priced out really at all. The contract extension is coming. We're hearing all the reports that the Packers are actually the ones asking to do this. Like Jordan Love didn't even like, hey, I want the extension. It was the Packers were like, we want to extend it. Right. And that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. But so, yeah, I think there's going to be a little bit of bump coming from that soon, but still he has one of the youngest and like a really good receiving core. A really solid head coach and offensive system that is chucking the ball a ton. We have the tight ends that seem pretty solid, both Musgrave and Kraft. They just brought in Josh Jacobs, who's a great bell cow running back who can help carry the load. Plus, they drafted Marshawn Lloyd, who's going to be a really, really good pass-catching running back. So it's just an offense I want a part of, and I want that quarterback that's only 25 years old and just threw for 4,000 yards and 30 passing touchdowns in his first season as a true starter, and also added 240 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. That's not too bad either. It's a shootout division, as we keep talking about with all these teams and offenses we're targeting. He just had the 5th most points per game at 19.4 and is the quarterback 10. There's still room to grow. And even then, I don't think he's losing value. And I just think he's an excellent arbitrage opportunity. I think you could take Caleb Williams. I'm sorry. I know you're saying you're buying him, but I would rather get a Jordan Love plus. Especially, I mean, you could probably get Jordan Love and Christian Watson or Jordan Love and Jaden Reed. Like, take your wide receiver pick, get a nice little stack for Caleb Williams. I would be taking Jaden Daniels and seeing what I could do to get Jordan Love. I'd be taking Kyler, especially Dak Prescott. That's number 1, taking Dak Prescott for Jordan Love, and even Brock Purdy and Tua Tagovailoa to try to get him. Those are some targets that I either it's, add to get him or try to get a cherry on top. But all of those I'm comfortable moving for the quarterback of Jordan Love's caliber.
Jordan Love is a good prospect. Jordan Love is a buy opportunity up until he's always a buy opportunity. And I'm not saying he's on this level of player, but did you ever stop trying to buy Patrick Mahomes? Have you stopped trying to buy Lamar Jackson? Have you stopped trying to buy Joe Burrow? Have you stopped, these guys people always try to go after. Jordan Love should be at the back end of this, but he should be in that class of quarterback that if you're looking to win now, you're looking to upgrade at quarterback, he should definitely be on your mind. He's got everything you just talked about in terms of receivers, coach, offense, scheme. And I want to put something to bed. I want to put something to rest to ease a lot of the minds of some of our listeners. Week 18 against Chicago, outdoors, freezing cold game. Chicago needed this game to have a chance at making the playoffs. Jordan Love just comes out, throws a sneaky 316, 2 touchdowns, 18.5 fantasy points, finishes at quarterback 11. This kid can perform in the cold, ladies and gentlemen. He can perform anywhere. Jordan Love's a baller. And if you want to get in at a nice price, you better hurry the F up, because that chance is going to be gone before you know it, because he's wildly talented. And my buy candidate from the Green Bay Packers is his wide receiver, Christian Watson. You've talked about it on a number of episodes why we should buy. And I'm just going to basically echo what you've been preaching for some time now here on the show. The kid's 6'4", 210 pounds. He runs a 4.6 340. You're talking insane workout metrics, 98th percentile burst score, speed score. He's agile, insane catch radius. And the knock on him has been health. It's these hamstrings. He cannot keep these hamstrings healthy. Well, I mean, he went to extreme measures this year to work on his hamstring stability, his hamstring balance in terms of how he uses it. There's all these calculations that they use at the University of Wisconsin. These medical researchers, it's insane. He's using this crazy apparatus to balance his hamstrings so they don't, that one doesn't get hurt or whatever. Sometimes people laugh at those type of things, those new age kooky type of mechanisms until they work. I'm a baseball guy, still watch a lot of baseball. The San Francisco Giants of a few years ago were just crushing the ball, hitting the ball. And everyone's like, what? Their players aren't that good. How are they crushing the ball? They were one of the early adopters of VR. taking batting practice in VR, getting more and more reps, even if it was virtually. The timing, the mechanisms. Matt Olson, who doesn't play for that team, but he plays for the Atlanta Braves, he uses this type of device to get his timing right, and he's one of the best first basemen in the game, and people laughed at him. My point is that people laughed. Well, people are laughing at the extreme measures that Christian Watson is going now until he's healthy in Thanksgiving. And he's a beast. And he's nasty. And he's sick. And he does all the things that we thought he would do coming out of his rookie year. High ADOT. Good yards per out run. Insane athletic ability. Even in the small sample size of 11 games last year, 11.3 fantasy points. And now he's finally priced properly. And this is what you've been preaching the most, and it is the reason why I completely agree with you that he's a buy. The price has come down considerably on where you could buy Christian Watson. He was being ranked amongst the DK Metcalfs, Michael Pittmans, Brandon Ayuk's, Drake London's, DJ Moore's. That's where he was last year. This year, you're talking about him being in the market around wide receiver 40. His name in terms of marketplace value are similar to Christian Kirk, Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin. Players are good, but players that are affordable. Players that aren't going at top of the line prices. Players that are obtainable without having to sell your farm.
Yeah.
Christian Watson is now at a good price. He's a good player, and he's going to be great in fantasy in 2024. Jason, anything you want to add? I want to make sure that you get final say on Watson because, again, you've been preaching this here. I'm not the guy. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the Christian Watson guy. You have been preaching Christian Watson for some time now.
Let's just say this, Matty Kiwoom, and this just really proves how kooky for Cocoa Puffs I am when it comes to Christian Watson. Would you be surprised? You hear that Christian Watson played all 17 games, 100% of snaps next season, and had over 2,000 receiving yards?
Well, I'd be shocked. Yeah.
You would be shocked? I don't know if I would.
Yeah, I'd be shocked.
I don't know if
I'd be shocked. Yes.
I don't think
I listen, I say I'd be shocked, but I want our listeners to know if you had said 1,400 receiving yards, I would have said no. That's a damn good season. That's a damn good season.
But it's like you can't say that about any wide receiver in the range. Like I would be so shocked if Terry McLaurin had 2,000 receiving yards, right? Like obviously, at least I would be like, you know what? Yeah, like Christian Watson, if he stayed healthy, maybe I would be shocked. Like no one's ever done.
That's
it, right?
breaking. That's Cooper Kupp's record. That's pushing Calvin Johnson. But I think your sentiment is this guy's upside isn't as shocking as people are making out to be.
Right. Yeah. I guess that's a better way to put it. It's a better way to put it.
And I want to just toot my own horn real quick in the Wake and Take Invitational 32-team league. Your boys got Love and Christian Watson on the squaw. The squaw.
I love that. That league is gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. I've never been anything like it, and now I'm looking at my roster, and it's like depressing because it's like Deontay Johnson's my third best player, and it's like, yeah, well, look at these rosters, man. It's 32 teams. It's a dogfight out there. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's move on to the last team in the NFC North before we talk TGIF trade. The Detroit Motor City Kitties, as Cody likes to call it, the Detroit Lions. Again, we're going to go quarterback wide receiver combo here. So what player are you buying in Dynasty?
I just don't get it. Again, what does Jared Goff have to do to earn our respect?
What's Goff got to do to earn the respect?
Like seriously.
What's Goff?
Seriously. What does he have to do? Back-to-back seasons with over 4,400 passing yards, averaging more than 17 points per game, and back-to-back seasons having nearly 30 touchdowns, and back-to-back seasons with one of the best weapon cores in the league, one of the best offensive coordinators in the league, one of the best head coaches in the league, one of the best offensive lines in the league, and one of the best, most competitive divisions in the league, and just got extended, and he's quarterback 18. You could probably take Baker Mayfield and not add much to him to get Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson. Will Levis. It doesn't take a lot to get this guy. And I'm, of course, comfortable still tearing down with some of the players mentioned earlier, especially Dak Prescott. In this case, you're talking about two 30-year-old quarterbacks. One of them just got extended. One's on the end of his contract with his team and not as good as a weapon core. Anyway, I think it's a pretty easy buy to get Jared Goff right now. On top of those stats last year, I mean, there's just a number of metrics, a player profiler that he was incredible at. You can just go on why you need to buy Jared Goff. He's an incredible quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues, and I really don't mind if you build your team around him in quarterback 1 leagues either. Like, I think he's that good, that consistent, and especially with him, like, you could just get some nice weapons. You could, I mean, like, especially like you could probably, like, you can have like an Amon-Ra, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jared Goff team pretty easily, and you could even get Jameson Williams. Like, it's just it's a really fun, good build that you can get in both Dynasty and redraft. I like Jared Goff really everywhere. He's incredible, great budget quarterback.
Jared Goff in Dynasty, the contract extension should alleviate most of the concerns over the long term. If you listen to Michael Lombardi, who's like no nonsense football type of personality out there, he's excited about the Lions. He keeps talking about some of these teams when they reach this height from, where they've come from in terms of a franchise, their win-loss record. Sometimes they can get complacent. Sometimes they can get fat and happy. He doesn't believe that in the slightest. And that's the type of person that I trust would have a good barometer of a team's kind of willingness to get after it still. So if you like those players last year, you should love those players this year. And Jared Goff is not going anywhere. So I like to buy that. And I want to say one last thing in terms of what you just touched upon, the Lions stack in Dynasty or redraft. You could do it in those best ball leagues. One of my favorite builds that I have right now in some of these underdog contests is a San Francisco 49ers, Detroit Lions crisscross stack, because you can go berserk mode. You can with ease land Amon-Ra, Ayuk, or Amon-Ra, Samuel. You have Pearsall. You have you could get Laporta, Kittle, both quarterbacks, Jahmyr Gibbs.
And
you could stack all of these players or a number of these players together and have the week 17 correlation. So I do like that build.
And Matty Kiwoom, the beautiful thing about that is you could also go either way if you want to go really crazy. I have gone really crazy here, Matty Kiwoom, with my best ball stacks. I also have a bunch of Lions 49ers because specifically, if you really want to lean into it, you can double down because there's also the Rams Cardinals Week 17 matchups. You then could have the NFC West correlation. And then there's also the Packers Vikings Week 17 matchup. So you could have the NFC North correlation. And it's really, really nice. It is you could really make some money off that, guys. I think at least, right?
Well, when my wife and kids are mad at me later on when I'm ignoring them because I'm doing a UD contest because I want to do this exact build, they could blame you.
I'll send you a picture of mine
because that would be sick. Yes. I do want to see that.
Winners too. It's Amon-Ra. I got Amon-Ra, Gibbs, Laporta, Goff, and then was able to get like
a smattering of those.
No, that might have been the Christian. Either way, it's there and it's pretty.
The NFC West, NFC North, big time bully team. I like that build. I'm absolutely going to give it a shot. Watch out, underdog drafters. Kiwoom is coming with one of those builds. We didn't even talk about my buy on the Detroit Lions. We've talked about all these stacks, and it's going to come to a shock as many because I have been a bit resistant on this player, but I'm coming around on Jameson Williams. You might be asking, Q, why the hell are you finally coming around? Has Jason finally beat you into submission? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit, because he's continued to remind me the positives of this prospect. Going 12th overall in the NFL draft just 2 years ago. The 4.39 40-yard dash speed. The emergence in the postseason last year. We saw him have a monster game against the San Francisco 49ers, which he scored twice. Used in a number of different ways. So I'm having a 72% snap share. And during OTAs, I'll admit there's a lot of hoopla. There's a lot of cockamamie reports that come out and surface. But there are certain reports that I think people should put more gravity towards. And the reports coming out around Jameson Williams should have some extra gravity because how positive they are. Dan Campbell has been speaking very glowingly of Jameson Williams, talking about how much he's grown. We talked about him last week on the OTAs segment, where we went through the Jameson Williams and how much Dan Campbell has seen the growth and development. And the reason why I am buying that thing, and again, I'm just repeating what I said last week, but I'll say it here on this episode. My biggest deterrent for wanting Jameson Williams on my team was, one, price. And two, Dan Campbell will put a guy in a doghouse and not him out. Remember what happened to DeAndre Swift? Well, If Dan Campbell, the guy who holds the key to the doghouse, is saying he's about to open that door and let this dog out, well, I'm going to try to get a little bit of shares on that on my team, because you look on this roster, who's wide receiver 2? They didn't really draft nobody, you know.
DPJ.
They didn't bring in really, yeah, exactly. Donovan Peoples-Jones, maybe no. Cleve Raymond, don't think so. It's Amon Raj, Jameson Williams, it's Sam Laporte, it's Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery. That is who is going to shoulder the load. So give me some shares of Jameson Williams. And I spoke about the price. Well, let's go look at the market price right now, huh, ladies and gentlemen? This former first-round pick, you could easily, according to the market prices that I'm looking at here at PlayerProfiler.com, if you could take Quentin Johnston, slap a little third-round pick to it, Quentin Johnston, slap a little Rashad Bateman, consolidate some of that trash. Jonathan Mingo, take 2 of those players. All 3 of those, hell, I don't care. Let me consolidate this back into my BS lineup, back into my BS bench. I'm going to go ahead and get it. I'm going to go get this guy who has tremendous upside, spike weeks galore. Might be frustrating in your lineup leagues, but hey, you got to take the good with the bad, and there's still some development to go. We saw a lot out of this prospect at Alabama before he came out. So I'm trying to buy some Jameson Williams. And again, price is there, situation's there, and I think there is still some ceiling to his production. So give me the cheap former first-round pick, and you did it, Jason. You did it. You got me to be on the Jameson Williams bandwagon. Congratulations.
Yeah. Jelani Woods, Jameson Williams, and Christian Watson in one offseason. It's pretty good.
Well, Christian Watson's always been my guy. Christian Watson's always been, I've always loved Christian Watson, so that was easy. But the other 2 took some time, but you did it. You did it. And folks, we just did it. We just broke down the NFC North, every single team, Lions, Packers, Vikings, and Bears, a bye from each team. But we're not done just quite yet. We got the TGIF, the Trade Gods Invitational Fantasy Football League, the TGIF Trade of the Week. So stick around. This is a quick one. This is a fun one, but I think it's a very relevant one. There was 2 trades between 2 of the guys in the league where one acquired Trey Lance. The 2026 third is inconsequential. We're not going to even talk about that at all, but we're going to talk about Trey Lance. Jason, what do you feel about Trey Lance in Dynasty? Do you want any shares? And what do you think ultimately can come out of his situation in Dallas with this whole Dak Prescott thing? Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb has to get paid. There's a lot going on in Dallas, and I want to talk about Trey Lance.
Yeah, I'm perhaps not the person to ask this. I want to put myself on the record first off and say I was not much of a Trey Lance fan. Never really had been investing in him at all. But when he went to the Dallas Cowboys, something felt right to me. I've only been able to describe it as a gut feeling. But Trey Lance as a Dallas Cowboy clicks for me in my head. And
it does look good. He does look his stature, like his kind of vibe kind of looks like Dak. They kind of wear like the similar aesthetic. It does kind of remind me of it. Way worse hairline than Dak. I will give Dak a little bit of credit there. Doesn't have a great hairline, Dak Prescott, but definitely better than Trey Lance.
This is true. Trey does need to kind of shave it off. I think we've talked about that before. Actually.
We have. I think we said that we might buy if he shaves his head. This might have been back when he was still in the Niners, but yeah.
I think it was. Yeah, it was our Brock Purdy versus Lance discussion.
which was one of the very first episodes. We've been Brock boys for a while.
We've been on the Brockett ship for a very long time.
We've been captaining the Brockett ship for some time.
Do you remember? Not even talking about this trade, but we had an episode. It was like right when Brock Purdy was like about to be the starter, and I was like, "Would you really be surprised, or would it really be that much of a shock if he goes out there, throws a few touchdowns, and ends up being the San Francisco 49ers quarterback of the future?" And we just kind of laughed about it. And then,
snap of the finger, here we are, QB 10 in fantasy.
But anyway, because of that gut feeling, because of the Dak Prescott contract situation, and because of some of the OTA hype, I am buying into Trey Lance, and this is exactly what I would pay.
Completely agree. I think at this point, why not take a shot? But I'm not building any plans around Trey Lance.
No.
I do think though that we do have to start planning for life after Dak in Dallas. They have to pay CeeDee Lamb top of the market money. You know the correlation between wide receivers and edge rushers, the Boses, and then the receivers, and now Justin Jefferson has set the market at wide receiver. Micah Parsons is certainly going to want to try to do that as well for those edge rushers. So I'm trying to buy Trey Lance if it's cheap like this and throw out the back end of the bench. But let's temper our expectations.
One thing to add, Trey Lance, in his entire football career, going through high school, has started one more game than Bryce Young last season, I believe. Like he's just always been injured, have like the shortest career. With some nugget I saw, maybe including his college career.
That's wild. But I know was it North Dakota State? They played one game in the COVID year, while other teams played 6 or 5. So he hasn't played a lot of football.
No, he really hasn't. So this is like, of course, it's going to take some time. He was a very raw prospect that got overdrafted. I think that was the big mistake, but he's had some time to develop. And I think sitting behind Dak Prescott, you mentioned it, I do think that they're kind of similar quarterbacks. So I'm not giving up on him yet. I think that obviously it's like a make or break year, probably next season, maybe. But I mean, Dak Prescott gets hurt, maybe he comes in. He's earned, I believe he has officially earned the quarterback 2 job from Cooper Rush, or at least it's kind of trending that way. So I don't know. I think it's a very interesting right now.
They also pay Cooper Rush, kind of top of the market for backups. He could be a potential cut candidate if they want to kind of increase that kitty just a tad and go with the Trey Lance. What I would recommend, though, for everyone listening, if, cuts are happening for fantasy, if someone's trying to move Trey Lance just so they can get him off their roster, take a shot because, I would say this. Trey Lance now is Sam Darnold a few years ago.
Right.
And we've seen Sam Darnold sellable a couple times over since then, whether it was just hype or not. You were able to cash him in for a 3rd-round pick, cash him in for something. You were able to cash him in, so I'm going to go ahead and buy Trey Lance too if the price is right. Jason Allwine, great episode. NFC North. We traveled up north, talked about each team, but the episode's over. It was a banger. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can tune into Wake and Take Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Same place you're watching this or listening to this even. Yeah, we talk the news, talk all the fun stuff, and then you can also follow me on social media at JFootballWine.
Make sure you're subscribed to the Player Profiler YouTube channel. Like this video, leave a comment. Where do we miss? Who are some of your buys in the NFC North? He's Jason Allwine. I'm Matty Kiwoom. We are the Trade Gods, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.